Calls case People State of Michigan versus Julie Bombashell.
The moment this case is called, you can feel the tension already building in Judge Simpson's courtroom. This isn't just another routine bond violation hearing. This is a full-blown unraveling of someone who has pushed every possible boundary a judge can set and somehow kept finding new ways to make the situation worse. Today we're diving deep into the chaotic world of Julie Fongfan, a defendant who has managed to turn court orders, jail time, and even common sense into optional suggestions. And trust me, Judge Simpson is done playing games. This case has everything: repeated lies, a trail of social media-fueled self-destruction, an unbelievable number of jail calls, emotional swings, claims of learning her lesson, and a judge who is fed up with excuses. The prosecution is prepared, the defense is scrambling, and Julie herself is about to face the consequences of pushing her bond conditions way past the breaking point. But what makes this hearing explosive is not just the violations, it's the pattern. You're going to see how small lies turn into bigger ones, how misunderstandings stack up into legal disasters, and how a defendant's attitude can shape a judge's entire decision. Judge Simpson has a razor-sharp memory, zero tolerance for dishonesty, and he's about to dissect Julie's behavior piece by piece.
Your Honor, I appreciate the court's accommodation. I had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Fongfachan. I discussed bond violations that have come to the court's attention since Ms. Fongfachan's last appearance before the court. Ms. Fongfachan.
Now, that, as well as the continued lie.
Of course, Your Honor. And Ms. Fongfachan is going to apologize to the court. She's going to admit that what the court has been made aware of, her participation on a video podcast.
Okay, let's just get it all right, Mr. Warren. Here's the stupidity of this individual. I lock her in jail because she was lying to me and violating her conditions. One of her first calls from the jail is to a podcast. Am I right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
But then gets here and runs a ruse that she's really making the calls regarding her to choke. Then, so not only does that then go on social media, there's then another one on social media shortly after when she was arraigned, where she was violating her bond condition at that time. I've yet to figure out why she doesn't have a medical marijuana card if that's what she wants to do.
This moment highlights something critical about bond conditions. The court doesn't care whether someone wants to use substances. They care whether it's legal and whether the defendant was honest about it. Julie keeps insisting she believes she was allowed to drink, allowed to smoke, allowed to bend rules because she thought they weren't serious. But the fact that she never obtained a medical marijuana card while continuing to use raises another red flag. She's not just ignoring orders, she's ignoring the law itself. When a judge looks at violations, they're assessing risk. Is this defendant likely to follow future orders? Are they capable of making compliant decisions? Do they show respect for the court? Julie's behavior answers none of those questions in her favor. Instead, every detail adds to a profile of someone who acts first and explains later. And explanations that come after they're caught don't carry much weight. At this point in the hearing, the court is starting to see a defendant who doesn't just slip, she spirals. And every time the judge thinks the story can't get worse, another violation appears.
But she doesn't, and then just continues to use. Lied to community corrections, then lied to me. So she gets put in, then makes within that week at least 41 calls that we could see, but there were actually additional ones. Then can't wait a day after being released. And violates my order again.
And Your Honor, that is my understanding of where we are today in its entirety. And Ms. Fongfachan admits to all of those things. She did go into custody. She placed upwards of 120 to 130 phone calls one of which was to a podcast. And I think that demonstrates to the court that her statements that she learned her lesson in custody, it may hinder that because Ms. Fong-Fachan was laughing, joking on a podcast.
The defense finally acknowledges everything: the 120, 130 phone calls, the podcast appearance, the lies, the violations. While admitting wrongdoing is usually helpful, here it only reinforces how extensive the behavior was. Bond violations aren't judged by quantity alone, but the volume here sends a message. This wasn't an accidental misstep. This was a sustained period of disregard for court orders. What makes this worse is Julie's attitude captured on the podcast: laughing, joking, downplaying the seriousness. These are optics that judges hate, because from their perspective, it proves the defendant isn't taking consequences seriously. It's not the alcohol, the THC cookies, or even the phone calls alone. It's the mindset behind all of it. This is where Judge Simpson begins to pivot. You can hear the shift. He's no longer considering, did she violate bond, but can she be trusted with another chance? And the second question is far more important. Violations can be forgiven. The inability to comply cannot.
Oh, yeah, she was. She thought it was all a game.
Of course.
And guess what? You can think it's a game. It's a game with me that you will never win.
Understand.
Ever. No, I don't think you do.
Can't speak.
No. Your Honor, that was the first week she was in custody. The following week, she lost phone privileges. She was released from custody, at which point she came before the court, apologized for what happened leading up to that.
Lied to Mr. Feaster, so Mr. Feaster would lie to the court.
Your Honor, I think Ms. Fong-Fachan understands that pretrial release is a matter of grace, and that for her to remain on pretrial release, she has to demonstrate to the court that she is going to comply with her bond conditions. She has had a turbulent journey on her bond so far. She's had several violations. There are renewed violations. She admits to all of those. She would ask the court to
including that the THC cookies, the time-released THC cookies, was a lie.
Ms. Fong-Fachan understands that that story is not feasible, that when you inspect the claim that was made at her first probable cause conference, that it doesn't make any sense. And she'll admit that today to the court, that a number of things she said leading up to this have not made sense and have turned out to be false.
Here the defense lays out a painful truth. Julie's story about the THC cookies wasn't just inconsistent, it was impossible. And once one lie falls apart, every related claim collapses with it. That's the danger defendants face when they try to patch previous lies with new explanations. The court sees the pattern, not the excuses. Bond courts operate on credibility. When a defendant lies repeatedly, it forces the judge to assume future dishonesty. And when dishonesty is paired with impulsive behavior, like substance use, excessive phone calls, and defying orders, the judge's hands become tied. They can't protect the defendant from herself. Julie's attorney tries to frame this moment as a turning point, a chance for honesty and renewal. And while that approach is sound in theory, the timing is the problem. Judges expect honesty before violations escalate, not after consequences become unavoidable.
And when a person, anyone puts himself in that position, you have to tell lies and lies and lies to kind of undo what you've done so far. I think Ms. Fong-Fachan wants to ask the court for a clean start, to come clean as to...
I thought we did that the last time. This is almost the same spiel I was getting last time, right before she got out and on film dragged.
Right.
God only knows why you'd be mixing anything with Red Bull, but what the heck.
Understood, Your Honor. And she did drink. There's a video of her doing it. She doesn't
Oh, yeah,
deny.
there is.
And what she's going to ask the court to consider is continuing her bond, upwards modification, that she be placed on a other to monitor alcohol use, that she submit to ETG testing to monitor her alcohol use, and that she cease using social media while this case is pending. Ms. Fong-Fachan is serious about resolving this matter She's serious about taking care of her two children. Daughters Maddie and Ayana have upcoming birthdays on the 28th of March and on the 2nd of April. I know
So it'd
she
be
wants to there
horrible
for them.
if she's in jail on their birthday.
It would, Your Honor.
But it doesn't seem to me that she was really caring about them all this time anyway.
This is a brutal but significant moment. Julie's attorney repeatedly brings up her children as a justification for leniency, but Judge Simpson calls out the contradiction. If her children truly were her top priority, her actions wouldn't keep putting her freedom at risk. Judges are highly attuned to when defendants use family as a shield rather than demonstrating responsibility through behavior. This isn't just emotional commentary. It's part of legal reasoning. Bond decisions are based on trustworthiness, stability, and future compliance. If someone repeatedly proves they will ignore court orders, a judge must conclude they cannot be safely supervised in the community, regardless of personal circumstances. The judge's tone here shifts from frustrated to disappointed, which, for defendants, is often worse. Disappointment means the judge sees wasted potential, and judges despise watching people sabotage themselves. Do you think mentioning children in court helps a defendant's case, or does it backfire when their actions contradict that claim?
Your Honor. No,
Because
Miss.
she would have never put herself in the jeopardy that she's in right now.
Of course, Your Honor. I know her children are her primary concern more than anything else, that she's asking the court in a final act of grace to permit her to remain out of custody, continue her bond with those modifications, to comply. And Ms. Fong-Fachan can address the court and come clean about any violations of bond leading up to today.
Go ahead. What does she want to tell me? Mr. Allen.
I just wanted to apologize for starting off with a bad start with you. I hope that start over. I did my time for bond violation for 2 weeks. I messed up.
This is Julie's big moment. Her chance to finally take responsibility and convince the court she understands the gravity of her actions. But even as she apologizes, something is missing: accountability. She explains, she rationalizes, she frames things as misunderstandings. But she still can't offer the one thing Judge Simpson needs: a clear reason to believe she'll follow orders next time. What stands out here is the emotional disconnect. Julie talks about learning her lesson, yet her tone and explanations suggest she sees the violations as technical hiccups rather than fundamental failures to comply. Judges listen closely during these moments. They're not just hearing words, they're measuring sincerity, consistency, and self-awareness. When Julie admits she thought it was just no smoking weed and didn't realize alcohol was included, it reveals exactly what the judge has been highlighting. She doesn't take the conditions seriously unless someone spells them out for her. Bond doesn't work that way. Judges expect defendants to ask questions, seek clarity, and avoid all questionable behavior. This moment could have helped her, but instead it confirms the judge's doubts.
The first week, the second week you revoked my phone privileges. I learned my lesson. I had some time to think about what I've done. And when I figured it out, I did have that cup of alcohol on the podcast. I truly thought that it was just no smoking weed, but I didn't know alcohol was a problem. But now I know. I do not have an alcohol problem. I was just drinking.
How am I supposed to know that?
You don't.
You
don't.
That now you've learned your lesson.
I know.
Tell me how I should know that.
I know that anything that I say, you probably won't believe because we started off badly.
Oh, and you lied.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not just little lies, big lies. Every step you've gone, you've been lying. So tell me why I should believe you now.
I don't have a reason or any excuse to argue with that. I understand.
Your Honor, I think Ms. Fong-Fachan knows it's not about what she says, it's about what she does. And what she's done leading up to this has not instilled confidence in the court that she's going to comply. We're asking the court to give her an opportunity to demonstrate that she's going to comply with the court's orders and perhaps present herself as a candidate for at the conclusion of this case.
The defense tries to salvage things by shifting the framework. They argue it's not about Julie's words anymore, but her future actions. This is a smart strategy. When a defendant's credibility is damaged, attorneys must pivot to structure, supervision, and safeguards. They highlight alcohol monitoring, compliance plans, and frequent testing, hoping to reassure the court that even if Julie's past behavior was chaotic, her future can be controlled. But here's the issue. Courts make decisions based on patterns, not promises. And Julie's pattern is not one of miscommunication. It's persistent disregard. Judges cannot risk releasing someone who has demonstrated they will reinterpret orders, push limits, and challenge authority. This represents a fundamental clash. Defense. She'll do better if you give her more structure. Judge. She had structure already and still chose violations. At this point, the courtroom tension is rising. The defense knows the judge is slipping out of reach, and Julie's earlier answers have not helped anchor any confidence.
I know you're upset at me.
Oh, I'm not upset because I definitely get to go home today. So I'm not really upset. Go ahead. What did you want to say? You just think this is all a game. That's what your problem is. You do. You think this is all a game.
I can say definitely I didn't take it seriously the first week. The second week after I stayed in, I had a lot of time to think.
About what?
About, my actions before, during, and now after the fact, even having a drink. And I guess if you want to put me back in jail, I deserve it.
Yeah, you do. You have a CPL?
Yes.
Lost it. You know why? Because you
Not
can't
really.
quit smoking and have a CPL. That's probably another form you lied on. How bad do you want to make this get, young lady?
Can you say that again?
How bad do you want to make this get? Because if you want to take this thing and make it the worst experience you ever had in your life, I'll be more than happy to indulge you.
I don't.
So whose rules are we going to play by?
Yours, Your Honor.
Absolutely. Problem is, I don't know that you know how to do the right thing. I think somebody that lies as much as you do about everything, it seems, and just kind of does what you want to do. Because you've probably been doing this your whole life. And that's why you can't change.
May I have the opportunity to say a couple of things?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, Ms. Hughes.
I appreciate this, Your Honor. Your Honor said something very interesting. You've probably always been this way, so that's why it's so hard to change. This behavior is exactly what this case is about. She's charged with R&O. She's charged with malicious destruction of a building. She went to her ex-boyfriend's business and kicked his front door of his business. The police arrived and she immediately started lying to the police. That she had just got there, that she hadn't kicked in the front door, that she didn't know what was going on. The police wanted to conduct their investigation, so they asked her to just wait in her car. That's all they asked her to do. And can you just wait in your car? And she took this as an opportunity to defy them rather than just listen to them. She told them, I'm not doing nothing. I don't need to go to my car. They asked her again, please go to your car. She decided to cut off Officer Cunningham, not allowing him to speak. He said, well, you can either wait in your car or you can wait in my car. She said, take me to jail, fuck it. Yes, go ahead, take me to jail. So I instructed her to put her hands behind her back, is what Officer Cunningham's report says. She then began to verbally and physically defy Officer Cunningham to the point that Officer Baldwin, another anarch officer, had to get involved. When Officer Baldwin approached, the defendant turned to Officer Baldwin and pulled her left hand away and said, don't make me swing on you, to a police officer. So yes, this is what she does. She lies and she wants to play by her own rules. So by continuously violating Your Honor's orders, this is just a game at this point. Your Honor, I'm asking that you remand her. I'm asking that her bond be revoked and that no bond be set at this time.
This is the turning point of the entire hearing. The prosecution delivers a detailed breakdown of the original case, and suddenly everything clicks into place. The judge now sees the bond violations not as isolated mistakes, but as a continuation of the same behavior that led to her arrest: defiance, dishonesty, and confrontation. Legally, this is devastating. When a defendant demonstrates the same behavioral pattern both before and after arrest, judges conclude that the issue is not situational. It's systemic. This is why the prosecutor's narrative is so powerful. It reframes the violations as evidence of character, not circumstance. Julie not only refused lawful police commands, she escalated the situation to the point of threatening an officer. That conduct, paired with her bond violations, creates a legal picture where pretrial release is no longer viable. After hearing how she behaved during the original incident, do you think the judge has any option other than revoking bond?
Good morning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Fong Fachan, as the court knows, is a mother. She was previously employed at the University of Michigan, stocking shelves. She lost that job when she was remanded to custody, and I know that she is seeking reemployment. Ms. Fong Fachan fully understands that the consequences of her actions.
Does she, though? Does she? I mean, I don't know anything about what was necessarily alleged in the case other than the charges, right? And then to hear that recitation of what this case is about and then look at this defendant's behavior, does she really? And I don't know why these kids keep coming up as some shield, because it appears to me everything she's doing has nothing to do with them. She's just running her world. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Your Honor, Ms. Fong Fachan has faithfully attended all of her court hearings. I believe that with added conditions of alcohol monitoring, that the court's concerns about her drinking could be suppressed. I know it's difficult to address the court's concerns about Ms. Fong Fachan's dishonesty. I believe she's come before you today and been honest about her past conduct and the conduct even after she was released from custody before court today. I'm asking the court to consider continuing her bond With those added conditions, Ms. Fong-Fachan will test today and tells me she will test clean.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Dr. Young, anything else?
Well, I can speak. I just wanted to say sorry. I've made some mistakes that day when that happened. I didn't necessarily just kick in the door. It was more to it inside. And it just escalated. I was upset. I didn't mean to harm or disrespect Officer Cunningham. I didn't mean it for it to escalate that way. And I hope that I can apologize and make it right. I'm trying to. Since this has happened, my life is in shambles. I'm trying to figure it out. Being in jail I get to sit and think about my actions and, actually learn from them. But being in there, I can't get things done. I have to figure out getting another job, paying the bills. Not that you care, but I'm trying. I'm trying to make it every court date. I quit smoking weed. If I can be placed on an alcohol tether or have to drop for, urine. I asked, can you still give me another chance?
And you said something very interesting. You said, I don't care. Not that I care.
Just now?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. Because actually, about everybody that comes before this court, I care. I do. Maybe sometimes to my detriment. I do care. I don't understand your stupidity. I just don't get it. And you're asking me to give you another chance. You got the first chance when you were first out. Put you in. I bring you back. And you put me in a position where I can't give you another chance. So then you're in there another week. Told me that day, you and Mr. Feaster, you had learned everything and you were going to be able to conduct yourself by the court rules and everything else. You don't at 24 hours, you don't make it 24 hours. And you all think you just think that all of this is a joke. Don't get to just have your way because you want to have your way. Always. There's a bigger bully. But if you think I am going to tolerate this, wrong judge.
I know.
I do not like sending people to jail, but I'm going to do my job. And if you can't cooperate, if you can't just do the simple things that are asked, none of this stuff is hard. None of it. But if you've got to pretend to all these folks that this doesn't bother you and you're just too cool for any of this, you're just going to make it, well, okay, so be it. You can sit up there and be everybody's hero. So, Mr. Warren Green, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjourn her preliminary examination. I'm adjourning her preliminary examination April 23rd, 2024 at 9. That is before me. It will give you the opportunity to certainly motion before this court this defendant's release. But for today, she's going. Defendant's bond is hereby revoked pending a motion hearing. If defendant is released from jail, she will go on an alcohol scram test. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They just took somebody back, so I can't bring that one out. Mr. Warren Green, if you have that, you can set that on a Wednesday for any type of motion hearing on a Wednesday.
I will file it.
You do that. It's on a Wednesday, so Miss Perroni and Miss no, Barroso's not going to help me. Miss Coons. Miss Perroni, Miss Coons can help you.
This final ruling is the logical conclusion of everything we've witnessed in this hearing. Judge Simpson revokes Julie's bond, orders her back into custody, and sets strict conditions moving forward, including alcohol monitoring and a future motion hearing. This isn't just punishment, it's judicial protection. The judge is protecting the integrity of court orders, the safety of the community, and even Julie from the consequences of her own repeated decisions. Legally, the judge followed a clear progression. Initial chance granted violations committed almost immediately. Defendant displays ongoing dishonesty. Pattern matches original criminal behavior. Court loses trust. Bond must be revoked. This case highlights a critical truth. Bond is a privilege, not a right. And when a defendant repeatedly demonstrates they cannot follow basic conditions, the court must act. Julie's emotional pleas were overshadowed by the overwhelming pattern of noncompliance, leaving the judge with no lawful or ethical alternative. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.